Welcome back to Stoic Wisdom. The strongest men in history, those who moved empires, led armies, and reshaped the world, did not scream for attention. They whispered truth, stood still in storms, and carried a power so silent it echoed. Today, in a world obsessed with noise, there's a forgotten truth. You don't need lines, games, or masks to be magnetic. You only need two magic words, spoken not with your lips but with your way of life. These two words, when lived fully, draw others to you without force, especially women. And the words are, I am, not I am yours, not I am nothing without you, but simply, firmly, I am. Here's why these two words change everything, especially in the context of Stoicism. When a man embraces the words I am from a place of deep self-knowledge, he steps into a kind of presence that cannot be faked or fabricated. This is not about arrogance or self-importance, it's about quiet certainty. He knows who he is, what he stands for, and what he will not tolerate. That kind of identity is forged in silence, not in public displays or shallow affirmations. Women, and people in general, are naturally drawn to someone who doesn't need to explain himself constantly because his actions and energy already do. This is the core of Stoic presence. When a man is grounded in his identity, he becomes less reactive and more composed. He doesn't chase approval because he doesn't need it to feel complete. His worth isn't determined by how someone else sees him. This makes him appear calm under pressure, steady in chaos, and reliable when others falter. That internal calm is attractive because it creates a sense of safety and strength. Many men lose themselves trying to impress or adapt to what others want them to be. But the man who can say I am without needing to add anything after it, who can simply exist in his own truth, becomes a beacon. That authenticity is magnetic. It signals to others that here is someone who cannot be swayed by trends, peer pressure, or external opinions. He has a compass that points inward, and when a woman encounters that kind of man, she feels his power without him needing to boast or dominate. Ultimately, identity is not about performance. It's about presence. The man who lives by I am doesn't try to be seen, he simply is. And that is what draws others in. In a world addicted to distraction, a man who is fully present stands out like a mountain in the mist. Presence is rare, and that rarity makes it valuable. When a man lives by the words I am, he isn't pulled into the past or rushing toward the future. He is rooted in the now, and that awareness, that attention, creates a gravitational pull. People feel it, especially women. She notices when a man looks at her and actually sees her, not through a lens of expectation or desire, but simply with presence. This alone can be more powerful than any compliment or grand gesture. Stoicism teaches that all we truly control is this moment. The man who lives this truth doesn't waste his time dwelling on mistakes or fantasizing about what might be. He knows that strength lies in what he chooses to do now. And when a woman encounters someone who is this dialed into the present moment, she senses security, focus, and depth, three things that are irresistible. It's not about being intense or overbearing. It's about being engaged. When you speak, you mean every word. When you listen, you actually hear. You're not scrolling through your phone or waiting to respond, you're there. And that makes her feel seen and safe in a way most people don't. A present man gives off the energy that he's not looking for something to complete him. He's already whole. He's already arrived. And because of that, others want to be near him. Presence is a kind of quiet power that doesn't need to shout. It shows up through stillness, through eye contact, through silence that isn't awkward but meaningful. That's the kind of presence that says everything without a single word. Neediness is the silent killer of attraction. It stems from a belief that something outside yourself, validation, attention, affection, is required for you to feel whole. But when a man truly lives by the words, I am, that need vanishes. He no longer seeks to be completed because he already is. He does not beg for love, chase affection, or cling to approval. Instead, he simply exists in his truth, and that detachment becomes one of his greatest sources of power. People often confuse detachment with indifference, but they are not the same. Indifference is apathy. Detachment is calm confidence. It's the ability to care deeply without being controlled by the outcome. A man who is not dependent on the reactions of others is free. That freedom is magnetic, because it's rare. When you're not trying to impress, not grasping for someone's attention, you become the very thing people chase: mystery, certainty, peace. Women especially pick up on emotional energy. A man who radiates neediness, even subtly, signals instability. It creates pressure. It communicates that he needs her to feel good about himself, and that is a weight few are willing to carry. On the other hand, a man who doesn't chase, who lets things unfold naturally, communicates value. He shows that he respects himself, his time, and his emotional boundaries. This kind of emotional independence doesn't mean you're closed off. It means you're not defined by whether someone accepts you or not. You bring value simply by being who you are, and if someone aligns with that, it's a bonus, not a necessity. The absence of need reveals abundance. The man who says, "I am," and believes it doesn't seek permission to be enough, he already is, and that quiet certainty draws people in without a word. Responsibility is not just about doing your job or keeping your promises. It's a reflection of who you are at your core. When a man fully embraces "I am," he automatically accepts that his life is the product of his choices, his mindset, and his discipline. He stops blaming others, circumstances, or luck. Instead, he looks inward. This is the essence of Stoic responsibility, not just owning your actions, but owning your reactions, your emotions, your attitude. And that level of ownership is rare, which is exactly why it's so attractive. A man who lives like this carries a kind of stability that people, especially women, find irresistible. He's the type of man who doesn't make excuses. If he says he'll do something, he does it. If he fails, he owns it and grows from it. He doesn't hide from consequences or shift the burden to someone else. This builds trust, and trust is a cornerstone of deep attraction. What makes this kind of responsibility powerful is that it isn't loud. It doesn't need applause. It operates in the background, guiding choices, setting standards, and creating integrity. A man who shows up consistently, not just when it's easy, is someone others feel they can rely on. And in a world full of unreliable people, that dependability is pure gold. When you live by "I am," you don't wait for someone else to take the lead. You take initiative, not out of ego, but out of principle. You become someone who stands firm, even in silence. That kind of strength, grounded in personal responsibility, radiates security. And that security is what makes people gravitate toward you, not because you promise to fix their world, but because you've already learned how to master your own. Man who controls his emotions rather than being controlled by them holds a kind of power that is deeply rooted and nearly unshakable. This doesn't mean he suppresses what he feels. It means he understands it, he observes it, and he responds with wisdom instead of impulse. That emotional mastery is the mark of someone who has spent time with himself, someone who doesn't let anger, jealousy, or fear drive his actions. In Stoic philosophy, this is the cornerstone of strength, not in avoiding emotion, but in mastering it. In a world that often rewards quick reactions and loud expressions, calm is rare. When a man remains composed under pressure, it makes an impact without needing explanation. It communicates confidence, maturity, and depth. Women naturally take note of this. Emotional stability signals to them that this is someone who won't crumble when things get hard or lash out when things don't go his way. It's safety wrapped in silence. When a man speaks with measured thought, when he walks away from drama instead of fueling it, when he faces difficulty with patience rather than panic, that's when his presence becomes magnetic. He becomes someone whose moods don't shift with the wind. Instead, he becomes the calm in the storm, the grounded presence people instinctively trust. Emotional mastery isn't about being cold or detached. It's about knowing yourself so deeply that no external situation can make you forget who you are. The man who lives with this kind of internal balance doesn't need to prove anything. His calm does all the speaking. And that calm, born from inner control, becomes the very thing others chase, not because he demands it, but because it feels like something they want to be around. Mystery isn't about withholding your thoughts or playing games, it's about depth. It's about living in such a way that your presence invites curiosity, not confusion. A man who knows who he is doesn't feel the need to reveal every part of himself instantly. He understands the value of silence, of pacing, of letting someone slowly discover who he is over time. This makes interactions with him feel like a journey, not a transaction. And that journey is what makes him compelling. When you move with purpose, when you don't rush to fill every silence or explain every motive, you naturally become more intriguing. People are drawn to what they don't fully understand, especially when that unknown is paired with strength, clarity, and direction. Mystery isn't about being distant. It's about being rooted so deeply in your own truth that not everyone gets immediate access to your inner world. That scarcity makes each layer of you more valuable. Women especially are drawn to men who have depth, men who think deeply, feel deeply, and live deliberately. When your actions speak louder than your words, when your choices reflect discipline and meaning, you become someone worth discovering. You don't need to constantly express who you are. You show it through consistency, presence, and emotional restraint. That kind of subtlety creates an aura of mystery that is far more powerful than any rehearsed charm or surface-level charisma. Stoic men understand that power isn't loud. It's quiet, controlled, and earned. The more a man knows himself, the less he needs to explain. He lets others come closer at their own pace, and he offers truth in layers, not floods. That approach creates an experience, a slow unveiling, and in a world that rushes everything, this kind of presence is unforgettable. Speak less. Be more. Let your stillness speak louder than their noise. Remember, when you master I am, the world doesn't need to be convinced. It simply responds.